Hi guys, I'm Jordan Bowen.
Hi, I'm Luca Marchetto.
And we are Jordan Luca. So we met in a club about 10 years ago in East London, and I think when we got together, I think we had lots of stuff in common, and then I think pretty quickly we realised we worked quite well together. We were doing. Firstly, we were doing some T-shirts, and then we were doing some illustrations, and then we were doing some things on Photoshop, and then it became, I was making hats at that point, and then we were doing some hats together, and then it was T-shirts together, and then it was some jumpers, and then it was some knitwear, and then we went to Italy to do something else, and then it just developed. So starting a brand together, yeah, it was a big thing to start together and to form it and to create it, but it really just felt quite natural, and as a result of what was, up to that point, about 7 years of working together anyway. I think Jordan Luca is irreverent. I think we're quite irreverent in what we do and how we work together and how we treat design and how we treat garments and ideas. And I think with the collections, there's always a kind of a strong narrative running through them. And everyone can say that, but I think probably more so than other brands, maybe that are kind of similar to us. But definitely, I think there's irreverence and narrative.
I moved to London 12 years ago, and when I came from Milan. I'm not from Milan, but I went to Milan to study, and then I moved to London 12 years ago. And for me, moving to London was a big shock, because the way that people live and the way that people commute to go to work is a completely different things compared to Milan. And the first time I got the tube in the morning, I was shocked to see people like brushing their teeth in the tube, or like shaving their beard in the tube. And people wear suits with at the time they used to wear suits with sneakers, just because it was very convenient to walk long distances to go to work and be comfortable. Something that in Italy that would never exist. You leave the house in the morning and you look perfect, and if something's gonna happen in the night, you go home, you take a shower, and then you go to do what you have to do. But here in London, just like you leave the house in the morning, and then you don't know what time you're gonna come back in the evening. So I think that's a big part of Jordan Luca's brand, and in the design especially, because we're always looking for an element of design, yes, but at the same time an element of practicality and comfort. And that's why we're always so careful on the materials and the fabric that we're choosing, because all our fabrics, maybe they can look traditional, but actually there is so much technology in them, and the way they're finished or the way they're put together. And I think that's a very important part of the brand. And then then you have Jordan, which is like born in London from Battersea, and he completely bring this completely new energy in my life as well, which is a proper London energy that in Italy doesn't exist. And maybe this is why London is still
I think it's interesting.
cool.
I think it's really interesting what's happened personally. Just like talking about what you're saying, like what's happened personally to us in our life. Because for me personally, I kind of feel very Italian, very traditional Italian. I'm not. I'm from South London. I'm like, that's just not what I am. But this kind of introduction of this kind of like Italian in my life has kind of made me kind of adopt that lifestyle. And I think we obviously, the collections, the brand Jordan Luca, it's self-referential, and we have kind of absorbed each other's kind of life and culture into each other's into our own personal lives, but really kind of push that into the brand in a way that is so fused, because I don't really know, Luca doesn't really know, especially with this whole thing, politically what's going on, doesn't know where his home is, and I think none of us know where we really kind of belong. I want to move to Italy, and I want to kind of be old in Italy. Where I think Luke could.
But actually, I want to stay here in
London.
London.
Eating Marmite and chips. Or whatever,
I think by the end of by spending so much time together, he became more Italian than me, and I became more British than him. Basically, that's how we're standing right now.
You know, he'll come home and I'll be cooking, listening to Mina, or something, you know. And then likewise, I'll come into the studio and he'll be listening to Prodigy. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is mad. But it's been an interesting journey, an interesting fusion.
So the design part of JORDANLUCA is work together. Me and Jordan, we work together. We think about a story or a kind of theme or the direction that we want to go with a collection, and all these decisions are absolutely 100% made together. And then we choose the fabrics together because we're very fussy on the materials, and we choose all the fabrics together and all the accessories and everything that's composing the collection. We do the fitting together with the pattern cutters, and we take all the decision that has to be taken. But then we divide, and I follow more the actual product, so I'm more the person who is following more the machinists and the pattern cutters going around in Italy for the production and studio. So I'm more focused on the actual product and make sure to deliver a collection in 6 months hanging in a showroom, while Jordan, he's taking more care, he's dealing more with the PR agency and with the press and with the marketing and on the social media. So yeah, so that's how we kind of separate ourselves.
Also, we've got really different design training as well. You know, I actually made fashion physically. You know, I made hats for 10, 11 years. I was making hats with my hands. So I mean, it's a very different process of approaching fashion. Luca, studied it in a very different way in terms of and can really execute production very, very well. Whereas I'm much better at much better sculpturally, I think, and I'm much better at fitting when I can see things that are physical, that are real, that I can apply hands to or stitches to or cut or move. I'm much better dealing with things that actually exist.
I think you have more on like kind of a artisanal approach, and I think this is coming from your millinery experience, and he's got tons of patience that he can sew one single beads for 2 hours, when actually I'm the opposite. I have no patience at all. I'm more like on an industrial kind of way of thinking, and that's why I like follow production and pattern cutters, because it's like all straightforward and you just get to get the job done basically, and that's what I like about it. You like to finish, how to put things together and find new technology to refine and to finish the garment, because that's, I think, for both of us is very important. It's not just about the design, it's not just about the material, but it's just about as well, very important, the finishings of our garments is finished, which I think makes a huge difference and gives value as well on the product, because let's remember that our clothes, they're not cheap, but and we really want that every single penny they spend with these clothes has got a value, and that's what we are really fighting for every day. Material and finishing and design and everything. No? Well, I've been very lucky because since I left the university, the academy in Milan, I started working straight away, and I started working as an intern in Castelbajac, which was a crazy experience, and I was an unpaid intern, like most of the interns are today, and Castelbajac was a crazy environment, very fun environment, as much as you can imagine Castelbajac could be. Then I went to Lucio Costa, then Jill Sander, and then my longest experience has been with Vivienne Westwood, and I've been her personal assistant for nearly 7 years, and it was a huge, amazing experience, and it's like was my dream to start working for her, so I would have done anything to work for her, and for me it was even more of an honor to be Vivienne and Andrea's assistant for so long. It was very tough and long hours, not as many hours as having your own brand, because your own brand takes you like your life completely. But I think what I learned the most from Vivienne and Andreas is how to put together a collection, because it's like you see millions of fabrics and you have millions of ideas, and you have available pattern cutter and machinists and people that can create amazing embroideries and finishings and whatever you want to do, and how to make a sense of all of that, you know, how to put all these people together and make sure that this wheel, this incredible wheel, is keep rolling until the time that you actually need it. So I think that's what I learned the most. And you know, because I was their assistant, I literally followed kind of everything that was happening regarding the gold label. So I managed to speak to pattern cutters, and I'm not a pattern cutter, but I made myself a great experience talking to them and talking to machinists and talking with the suppliers of the fabrics, and you know, all these big things that I learned is actually are the basis of what we're doing.
It's true, you know, because I think even the first show we did, you know, we never did a show before, but you know, Lucas just had this like kind of military operation going. You know, three people doing this, 4 people doing this. I had the model board, the things I didn't even think about, I didn't even know existed. You know, and then you know, it was like Luca almost operates because of this kind of military training that he's had from this like really hardcore fashion house. Has this ability to kind of really produce collections, which I really admire, which obviously I'm learning, and I bring other things to the table, but I love that about what he brings to JORDANLUCA. I think you have to have some training in making garments, or at least some understanding of how things are made or how things are put together. For many reasons, obviously, you know, it needs to feel good. It needs to hang well. You need to try things on. You know, all this practical stuff that you don't think about. A lot of people don't think about in, you know, when you're studying fashion. You just think you can do the illustration, especially with hats. You know, you draw. Especially, you know, you see it a lot with hat designers, and you know, they draw this thing, or fashion designers as well. You know, you see, you know, draw this beautiful illustration, make this beautiful garment, amazing, and then you try it on, and then you know, the arms don't move, the head doesn't move, falls off the head. So what I think we learnt from Stephen Jones is kind of practicality. As frivolous as a hat is, you have to be able to wear it. Has to fit. It has to not give you a headache. Things like you don't think about it can't be green because it reflects in your skin badly. It can't blow off in the wind. All this kind of practical stuff that you don't really consider. You know, and instead of just making it, you have to try it on, and it's a process. And I think that's that whole kind of process and that whole journey, for want of a better word, because I hate that word, but that whole kind of process of making a garment is about trying it on, you know, and wearing it. You know, don't just make the sample and approve it. Make the sample, try it on, wear the sample home, kind of sleep in it if you have to, and wake up in it and see what happens when you wash it. All this kind of stuff, because it has to, you know, a garment has to just be, it kind of has to integrate into your life, and maybe not your life, but yourself. It has to be part of yourself, and that's one of the many things that I learned from Stephen Jones, that it has to be a kind of extension of who you are and what you're about. The JORDANLUCA customer, I think he's very much like us. You know, I was saying before, you know, that I don't, because of what's going on culturally and socially, and especially what's happening in London. London is so kind of specific, and it's its own thing, and that people come and go, and it's quite transient, and it's really, really multicultural, and the kind of people's lives and friends and things come in and out of your life. And I think there's very much to do with how we see our customer and who we're talking to and who we're looking at. You know, I was saying before that I don't really feel connected to London. I'm part of London. My family are here, and I'm from here. But somehow I feel kind of disconnected from it as well at the same time. And I think Luca feels the same, even though, you know, it doesn't really feel truly part of here, but kind of feels actually part of something much bigger. And I think our sense of home and our sense of self has widened, and it's not really, you know, especially because of internet age and all these things, and like I was saying, all these people and this kind of really massive mix of this amazing mix of people, that it doesn't really, it's changed. You know, I think your sense of home, your sense of self, your sense of where you belong has really changed. And I think that is the customer that feels that guy that feels kind of home in Dubai, as well as he feels home in Milan, as well as you know, as well as Paris or LA, and maybe it's LA for a month. And I know many people like that. I know many people that live in one place for a year, might want to move to London, but feel really connected to those places. And I can't really say where that person is, but it's this kind of global, it's a global kind of gypsy, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to find someone who can work as solo, because even like before starting our brand, in the companies and the brands that were before, you know, like even when there is only one designer, for example, when I work for Erdem, like there is always a team that it's behind, and you know, there is always someone next to him, and it's always a teamwork. I think it's very rare to say that it can be a solo job, and if it's a solo job, then I have no idea how that can be done, because you know, it's there are so many decisions to take in this job. Like every second there are millions of emergency popping from every place, and so many decisions to take about the collection, about this, about that, and you know, you have to be very strong. And I'm lucky because we are in a team, we are two people, and you know, we share our work and we share our life as well. And you know, it's such a tough job as well, and you have so many up points and so many down points, and so many door closed, and you know, you have so many ups as much as so many downs. And when there are those big ups, I think it's amazing to be there and share them with someone. And especially when you have the downs moment, I think it's so nice to go home and have someone who can you talk how you feel and what shall we do, and talk about it, and coming out from that moment in a good way. Obviously, when some difficult
I'm just laughing because I know the conversations we're having at home at the moment. Pillow talk is like, no you won't. Pillow talk, no I will, yes I will. It's like,
obviously, when there are some moments that we're gonna have some difficulties, and how we're gonna cope, I don't know how we're gonna cope. We're screaming at each other, and sometimes we want to kill each other. And what I think me and John are very good is that we have a studio and we have our house, so they are two completely different spaces, and we can have the worst argument in front of interns and people that work with us, and you know, we can start screaming and throwing each other stuff that everybody thinks, oh my god, they're gonna break up now, there's gonna be a divorce, and we're not gonna have a job tomorrow. But as soon as we leave the studio, we're just talking about, okay, what shall we have for dinner, and you know, and that kind of kills everything. And as soon as we arrive home, that's where our kind of private life starts. I mean, there is always work involved from when you open your eyes and when you shut them. But you know, we managed to separate that, and it's a question that lots of people ask us. It's like, how can you cope working together with? And but I think we're managing very well. So yes, of course we fight a lot, especially because our ideas are always very different, and when they meet, that's where JORDANLUCA comes.
personally I do, yeah. I think COVID-19 and the whole crisis, and what has happened with the whole crisis has forced, I mean, it's killed a lot of business, and it's really demolished a lot of the industry. But at the same time, whatever's coming out of this period, of this time, I think has been really positive change. It's forced, I mean, it forced everyone for 2 months to stop. For example, you know, sustainability. It forced us to look at how much we were producing, why we were producing it, why we're producing in Italy when we can just do it in England. You know, all of these things, and a lot of details that you didn't really think about. And I think it's been really useful for everyone to stop and think about the ways forward and the ways through, and not just for the next 6 months or 9 months, but really about the future. And I think what you've seen coming out of now is that, you know, a lot of things going online and things being kind of merged and fused together, like, you know, gender neutral fashion weeks and things like that. I think it feels like the change that should have happened 5-10 years ago, to be honest. So I think it's really positive.
Yeah, I think it's very positive, and as well, they're trying now to rewire, as they say, the fashion system, which I think is amazing because it makes so much more sense, like merging the calendar of the fashion according to the actual demand of the customer, which I think is, I mean, it's so obvious, and you think, why hasn't it been done before? About the digital part, I think it's a great challenge, and we are gonna go digital for the Spring Summer 21, and we are collaborating with some incredible people, and we're excited to change that, and not having a show for the moment, a physical show, and trying to do something different. And I think it's very challenging, but at the same time very, very exciting. And I think fashion is not only going gender neutral, which is fundamental, and like digital, but as well as sustainable. And sustainability should be another key word that has to be taken in consideration in moving forward. We can't go back to where we were before, and that's why we are always being very careful as well in the sustainability, because sustainability is another part fundamental of JORDANLUCA. Maybe we don't scream it too much, but everything is taken in consideration according to a sustainable supply chain, and the way the clothes are made, the way that the patterns are laid, how much wasting we have for sizing and grading, because sustainability is not just about choosing cotton and forget about polyester. It's not about that. It's about how you put materials together. You can use polyester, but how do you combine it with other material? Can be that garment recycled in the way that it's put together? And
I think, yeah, go on. I mean, no, it's all gone. After you.
No, but
Sorry to interrupt. Did you? Go on, carry on.
I don't know now.
No.
Forgot.
Well, I can continue, but I think the kind of going back to this kind of COVID crisis, I think it was such a relief. It was such a relief to, and I dare I say, it was such a relief not to work to a deadline, because I think everyone is in this rat race, and we're talking, going back to Luca's point about sustainability and making so much stuff that you don't really need, and you think you really need it, and it's so imminent that you need it. You need to do 80 pieces to do a show, and you need to do all this stuff. And in many ways, yes, you do, but it was really nice just to think, actually, we don't need to do that, and actually maybe the future means that we don't need to do that. And I think that is, it's so exciting, because we're so accustomed now, we're so used to being in this, we're just in this kind of hamster wheel where it becomes very performative. You're performing your collections, and I think we got to a point where we didn't even realise we were performing fashion, performing like other people. You're kind of performing creativity, and I think it's a really dangerous place to be at. So stopping and realizing that we can be different, we can grow, and we can work differently, be more sustainable, be more reactive to what's happening is just really exciting. Well, I mean, like I was saying before, the good thing about this COVID crisis is forced us to look at different areas, and different areas that may be performing better, or and I think we were looking at before lockdown, we were looking at doing some stuff in Los Angeles, we were looking at doing some stuff in China, and and during that time we had some time to be able to kind of implement some of those plans and work with the PR in America, like I said, and start to do some projects in China. So that is kind of maybe where the brand is going. There are other things. There are loads of other things happening. Like we're setting up ecom for September, for the launch, for the second launch of London Fashion Week.
Yes, this is very exciting, because for September we are going to launch. We're going to launch part of the collection now in June, and then we're going to launch the other part in September. And in September we are going to launch as well a capsule collection of pieces that are seen out by now, and we're going to create some nice content about them as well. We have this nice idea, but I think that's very exciting for us, because I think wholesale is great, and we have so much support for some amazing stores in the world, and we're so thankful for them, and we want to be loyal to them, and they're such a fundamental part for us, and of course we're gonna keep working with stores as well. But exciting is on the other side to try to go straight to the customer, because we're getting messages and requests through what we're doing from customers and from like general customer, right? And and to be able to fulfill those requests, I think is going to be a very exciting point. And then we started doing some accessories. We introduced knitwear, which is something that we both love. And it's very tricky knitwear because of minimum and because of production and all these things. So we managed to find a nice factory in Italy that can produce knitwear with yarns that are recycled from old sweaters as well. So very sustainable knitwear, and we launched it last season. We're gonna keep carrying on this one. So that's something very exciting that we're working on right now.
I think the whole model, as much as I admire it, and I'm so grateful to those stores that have had us since the first collection. I'm so grateful to them for giving us a chance and for working with us and communicating with us and telling us what they need and what the customers need. It's been so useful for us to have their support, and we're really, like I said, we're really grateful, and they're really great stores and really great people. But I think the whole wholesale model as a business model, I guess, is really volatile, and you don't think about it. You think it will always be bricks and mortar and people will always be around. Something like COVID-19, it's not. It's really volatile. It can really change, and so we're just trying to find. I think the future for us is about trying to find a way that those two can work in unison, and those kind of that kind of model, those two business models, if you will, can work in tandem. That we can create, we can continue working with really great wholesalers and start to sort of work online and work in different ways and sell in different ways and give the customers things in ways that we didn't really expect.